Hello and welcome to this webinar. I hope you can all hear me now. Apologies for the slight technical glitch at the start of this. Thank you for joining us. We know you're all very busy today, so we appreciate your time. We expect this webinar to last around 30 minutes with some additional time at the end for questions. You can submit questions at any time during the webinar using the chat button at the top right of the screen. In this webinar, I'm going to introduce you to some of the additional features that are included with your Microsoft 365 solution. And rather than going into detail with each feature, I'm simply going to outline what's possible so that you can determine if they would be useful in your business. We're planning to produce additional masterclass webinars focusing on individual features in the near future, and we'd appreciate your input on these. So if there is a feature you're particularly interested in, please let me know via the Q&A window or follow up with me after the webinar. So let's take a look at what we'll be talking about in this webinar. To start with, I'll give you a quick introduction to Microsoft 365 and an overview of the different plans. We'll then move on to the Microsoft Office apps that are included with Microsoft 365 and what makes these different from the traditional retail versions of Microsoft Office that you used to buy outright in the past. The Microsoft Office apps are no longer limited to Outlook, Word and Excel. So we'll take a look at what else is included that you may not know about. We'll then look at Microsoft OneDrive, which allows your staff to store files which are usually saved on their individual PCs to the cloud. Sharing and collaboration are two of the major benefits in Microsoft 365, which allow multiple people to work on the same file simultaneously. And different Microsoft 365 plans offer different features, but there are some features you can simply add on without having to upgrade to the next level plan. I'll discuss the options to store all of your company data in Microsoft 365, which opens up the possibility of removing the need for a server in your office. And once again, please feel free at any point during this webinar to use the question and answer box located at the top right of your screen to post any questions you may have, and we'll answer them as we move through this webinar. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Wayne Dalton. I'm a senior support engineer with Impact Computing. I've been at Impact Computing for just over 11 years, and I expect many of you have come across me at some point over those years. Throughout my time at Impact supporting customer systems, I've dealt with businesses across all sectors and I've seen the various systems used by those businesses. And I'd say I've gained an insight into how businesses use their IT. Today, I'm also joined by my colleague Ash, who will be helping out with the questions throughout this session. Ash, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello there, yes, thank you very much, Wayne. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name's Ash Farr, and some of you may know me already. I'm the service desk manager here at Impact. I've been with Impact for around 5 years. I've got 12 years experience in the IT industry. And I too have a passion for, I've had a passion for IT all my life, and I love being able to help people and businesses with technologies that we're going to be talking about today. An interesting fact about myself: my favourite biscuit is a custard cream. What's yours, Wayne?
Yeah, probably a bourbon. Yeah,
good choice.
Traditional.
I'm going to help you out with the questions. So again, please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A window, and we'll answer them as we go along.
Thank you very much, Ash. Okay, so first of all, back in April of this year, Microsoft decided to rebrand their Office 365 products to Microsoft 365. And this was done to bring the original Office 365 plans in line with the newer Microsoft 365 products that were being launched at that time. The features remain the same, it's just the name that changed. So throughout this webinar, I'll be using the new Microsoft 365 naming. So there are currently 3 core Microsoft 365 business plans, which are aimed at small and medium-sized businesses. So you've got the Business Basic, Business Standard, and Business Premium. As you can see from this slide, as you move through the plans, you get more and more features available to you. So for most businesses, their motivation to move to Microsoft 365 was the need to replace an aging server in their office, which was hosting their company email system. And in a lot of cases, PCs and laptops were replaced as part of this move, which then required the newer version of the Microsoft Office suite. So currently, 60% of the Impact Computing's customers with their email on Microsoft 365 are using the Microsoft 365 Business Standard plan. So this is the plan I'm going to focus on today. So customers would primarily use Microsoft 365 for their Office apps. So that's Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher, Access, as well as the Exchange email facility. But this plan also includes Microsoft Teams, Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint. And it's these three additional services where the real power of Microsoft 365 lies. Over the past couple of months, many of you will have used Microsoft Teams to help your staff communicate whilst working remotely. So we're not going to cover Teams explicitly in this webinar, but we do have a number of videos on our YouTube channel that are available and that provide more of an insight into Microsoft Teams and how to get the most out of it. So later on in this webinar, we will be looking at OneDrive and SharePoint. Now, those customers not currently using the Business Standard plan are typically using a plan known as Exchange Online Plan 1. Which provides them with just a mailbox facility and nothing else. To make use of the full Microsoft 365 experience, these licenses would need to be upgraded to one of the three business plans. So in the past, you would normally buy Microsoft Office whenever you purchased a new PC. So this had the advantage of you being able to pay for the software in one go. But the downside was you'd normally be stuck with that version of Microsoft Office for many years until your PC was next replaced. With the Office apps from Microsoft 365, one of the main benefits is that each user can install the Office software on up to 5 PCs, laptops, or Apple Macs. This means they can also use it on their home PCs as well as their PC in the office. Users are also licensed to install Office apps on their smartphones and tablets. And again, each person can install it on up to 5 mobiles and 5 tablets. And if you don't have any of your devices to hand, you can use a web browser on any device to access the web versions of Microsoft Office, which have many of the main features as the full applications. As I mentioned earlier, with Microsoft 365, you no longer need to wait years to get the latest features and updates. These are provided by Microsoft on a monthly basis, and they're installed automatically in the background without you having to do anything, and more importantly, without interrupting your work. So over the past couple of months, a couple of examples of recently released features include the Dictate option for Word, which removes the need for additional third-party speech-to-text software, and it generally works without you having to train it to your voice. Once you've dictated a document, you can then use the editor feature, which some people have described as a spell checker on steroids. So as well as checking your spelling, it checks your grammar, your sentence structure. You can tell it to check for things like political bias. And there's probably at least a dozen other categories that it can look for to monitor your sentence structure and overall grammar. Before we move on, I'd just like to introduce you to a Microsoft Office application, which is often overlooked, and that is OneNote. So this is used to create notebooks for jotting down ideas, to-do lists, in fact, anything you'd normally use a paper notebook for. So this application is included with Microsoft Office, and it's perfect for organizing your ideas, lists, and notes into notebooks, which are then divided into sections and pages. These notebooks are then synced across all your devices, so you can access them from anywhere. You can add images, videos, audio clips, website links, and more. And if you're using a tablet that has a stylus or a pen, you can even add handwritten notes or sketches. These notebooks can then be shared with others in your company so they can contribute to them as well. So looking beyond the core Microsoft Office apps, your Microsoft 365 subscription also includes numerous other apps. To access these, if you open a web browser and go to www.office.com and log in with your company 365 details, and then you click on the All Apps button. Here you'll find all the apps included with your subscription. The number of apps you will actually see will depend on the level of subscription you're currently on. Ones that you may find useful are the Bookings app, which allows your clients and customers to book appointments with your staff through a form which can be added to your website or published on social media or just sent to a client in an email. An example, one of our clients recently started using this because of social distancing. They needed to limit the people attending their premises. So they used Microsoft Bookings so that their customers could book a time slot when they could attend the customer's premises. Another one is Planner. So this provides basic project management facilities, allowing you to create plans, assign tasks to other users, organize teamwork, and collaborate on projects. And finally, the To-Do app. So this creates lists and tracks progress of items on the list, and you can share your list with other people. A number of the apps included with Microsoft 365 also have their own dedicated mobile app. So for example, with To-Do, you can download that to your mobile device as a standalone app and access all of your lists and track progress whilst you're on the go. Right, so let's check in with Ash to see if we have any questions.
We do indeed, Wayne. Thank you very much. Barry asked how does the free version of Teams differ from the paid one? So if you are on the sort of free one, there are a few differences, and there are sort of user limits on that, but they are both sort of exceptionally high. So I don't think you'll have any problems with the user counts. But there's no SLA on the free one, so there's no sort of commitment on that. You also can't record meetings. And there's less file storage for your files within Teams. But I think the biggest thing there is just the control for your business. You don't get the same control over the free one, so it's much better to be on the have it included in your subscription. So I hope that answers that one, Barry. John asked about the dictate feature and whether that works on mobile too, and it does indeed, and it's just as good as desktop. The one thing I would say there is just make sure you have the correct version installed. The one you will need is the Microsoft Office app, and sometimes that comes bundled with your phone. So you just have sort of Word, Excel apps. So you will need to get the Microsoft Office one to have that included, but it is very good and sort of has the full functionality of the desktop version. So I hope that answers your question there, John. And that's all we have at the moment, Wayne.
Thank you very much, Ash. Right, so now you've seen all the different apps within Microsoft 365. The next part of this journey is to look at storing your files in the cloud. By doing so, we'll take a look at some of the features that this will unlock. Okay, so firstly, you may be asking yourself, what does he mean when he says on the cloud? So basically, this means storing files that are normally kept on your Office PCs or laptops on the internet in Microsoft's data centers, which are located across the globe. The two features we will look at relating to the storing of files on the cloud are OneDrive and SharePoint. So starting with OneDrive, this is used by individuals to store their files on the cloud. Think of it as a My Documents folder, which is stored online rather than on a user's PC or laptop. And once their files are stored on OneDrive, the user controls who accesses them and if they wish to share them with anyone. And most importantly, it's easy for users to set up and requires very few changes with how they work with their files. In fact, with a couple of clicks, users can sign into OneDrive on their PC or laptop and automatically relocate all of the files on their desktop and in their documents and pictures folders to OneDrive. On the other hand, SharePoint is used to store company data, which would normally live on a server in your office. And that data is traditionally accessed through network drives, which are accessible on your computer. The access permissions are managed at a company level, and files are usually shared with whole departments such as a finance or HR department. Moving your server data to SharePoint does require careful planning, and as such, we would need to be involved in any such move. And we know that security is a major concern, especially when we talk about moving your company's data onto the internet. And that is why we strongly recommend setting up two-factor authentication on your Microsoft 365 accounts for anyone whose data is stored on OneDrive or SharePoint. So multi-factor authentication, so this is where you enter a code generated by an app on your phone, in addition to your normal Microsoft 365 password. You may already have this set up. If not, our support team are currently working to get this enabled for all our clients as quickly as we can. And most importantly, once files are stored on OneDrive or SharePoint, they can be accessed from anywhere and on any device, which opens up the possibility of seamless remote working. Users no longer need to be in the office to access their company files. So another feature of storing your files on the cloud are the sharing, collaboration, and co-authoring features that Microsoft 365 has to offer. So in the past, say you had a document stored on your computer and you wanted to share it, you would normally have to attach it to an email and send it to the recipient. The recipient would then make the changes, email it back to you. Now, it's difficult to show you the collaboration features using a set of PowerPoint slides. So with the help of my colleague Ash, I'm going to show you how easy it is to share a document and collaborate on it in real time. So I'm just going to share my desktop. Okay, right, so let's here we have a Windows File Explorer on my PC, and you'll see here I've got the OneDrive, my company OneDrive, Impact Computing and Consulting, and within here I've just got a test document, a Word document that I'm just going to open. Right, so I've got this document here. I want to get Ash's input on this document. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the share button at the top right of the screen. And I'm going to type in Ash's name in the box. And if I hit the send button, what this is going to do is going to send Ash an email with a link to this document. Alternatively, if we were using Microsoft Teams, I could just click the copy link button and paste that into a chat message with Ash, and he would get that straight away. So in this case, I'm just going to hit send, and Ash should get a link very, very shortly. So while we wait for Ash to open that link, authoring and co-authoring and collaboration basically means that multiple people can access the same document at the same time, and you can all make changes to that document in real time. So Ash, have you received that link?
I have indeed. It was very easy on my side. I've clicked the link, and because I was already signed into 365, I'm now in that document.
So you may have noticed at the top right of the screen, Ash's face has popped up there. Ash, so if you could start making some changes to this document. Now, to find a quick way to find out where Ash is in this document is just to click on his face and then click on Go to Location. So here we are. I can see that Ash is at this point in the document, and he's made some changes to the document, and it's got his name over those changes. And Ash just deleted a section of the document there. And again, you can see that happened in real time. Usually at most there'd be a couple of second delay, but generally it is pretty quick. Now, one other thing, if I didn't want Ash to actually change the document, I purely wanted his input on it, he could use the comments feature within Microsoft Word. To view that, if we go to the Review tab and click Show Comments, and then after a couple of seconds, a sidebar will open in Word. Now, like I said earlier, in some cases this is really quick. Other times it all depends on what else is going on your network as to how quickly it adds. So the comments bar has appeared at the side of the document. So here Ash can actually highlight blocks of text, entire paragraphs, and just add a comment to that section, which so it may be that I need to review that entire paragraph. If I wanted, I could reply to the comment within the document, or just mark it as resolved to let Ash know that I've taken that into consideration. Now, whenever a change happens in a document that's shared in OneDrive, OneDrive automatically saves the document after every change. So you don't need to worry about it remembering to save it before you close the document. Every single change is saved. Now that's all good and well, but what if Ash deletes an entire section of the document and then it's saved straight afterwards? Well, with files stored on OneDrive, you have what's known as version history. So Microsoft OneDrive keeps a copy of every single version of this document so that you can roll back to it if you need to. And the way we do that, if I move my cursor up to the top center of the screen and click here, you'll see we've got a version history option. When I click that, the right-hand pane on the screen shows every version of this document. And if I wanted to open one of these previous versions, when I open it, it will give me the option to restore that document. So effectively bringing that past version up to the live document status. So I hope that that quick demo has shown you how quick and easy it is to share a document with someone, for them to make changes, add comments, and also how to roll back a document using version history. Thank you very much for that, Ash.
Thank you, Owen.
So before we continue to the final sections, Ash, do we have any further questions?
We do indeed. Thank you for your question, Tim, who asked, can you stop sharing a file once it's been shared? And you absolutely can. And the process to stop sharing a file or change the permissions, say if you wanted to have that read only, for example, is very easy. You can go to the three dots, similar where the sort of share button is at the top of the document. So if you press share and then use the three dots, go to manage access, and it will show you sort of who's got access to that file, and you can make changes there and remove that access. And you can also do a similar thing whether you're on the web version or mobile version as well. We've also had a question from Jeremy, who asked how much storage space do you get with SharePoint? So that is 1 terabyte plus 10 gigabyte per license purchased. But I believe you can add to that with other ways. So it's unlikely you're going to reach that limit, but there is a way of increasing that further. That's all we have at the moment, Wayne.
Thank you, Ash. So generally speaking, the features available in your Microsoft 365 subscription depend on the level of subscription that each user has. So the top level business premium plan contains many more features, particularly aimed at security, than the business standard and business basic packages. However, if you are looking to use a particular feature in your business and it's not included in your plan, you don't necessarily have to upgrade your plan to the next level. Some features can be purchased as an add-on, which can prove more cost effective. So add-ons can be purchased on a per user basis, but some others have to be purchased for your entire business to use. Price is based on the number of users you currently have. So let's start with the per user add-ons. So email is by no means a secure method of sending information. And if your company deals with sensitive personal or financial information, then email encryption would certainly benefit you. Unlimited email archiving is available for those users who have a need to keep all their past emails, or for those users who don't like deleting them. Microsoft Project and Visio applications can be added if your job role entails any project management. And finally, automated email signatures allow everyone in your organization to have a standardized email signature, which is automatically added to their emails, even when sending from a phone or tablet. Moving over to the company add-ons. So these primarily deal with security. So Advanced Threat Protection, or ATP, gives you an extra layer of protection from phishing emails and malware. Conditional access gives you control over who can log into Microsoft 365, what devices they can log into from, and even what countries they can log in from. This is particularly useful in mitigating against attacks from known black spots, for example, Nigeria, Eastern Europe, Russia, and China. Single sign-on. So this removes the need to have a separate password for Microsoft 365. With single sign-on, users use the same password as they use to access their company PC or laptop. And finally, if you're storing your data in the cloud, you want to know that it's safe. And whilst Microsoft do have systems in place to protect your data, you do have the option of using a third-party provider to back up all that data to a totally separate location. So now that you've seen all the key elements to Microsoft 365, you can start thinking about whether your business could start to make use of these features and possibly transition to working solely in Microsoft 365. So to start on this journey, we would recommend that you get OneDrive set up for all your users so that they don't have any data stored solely on a single PC or laptop. Start to use Microsoft Teams for your staff to communicate and collaborate regardless of where they're working from. So initially, you can use this, just use it internally, even if it's just to start by using the chat facility. It'll put an end to email ping pong between staff when they're looking for quick answers to their questions and queries. And next, look to move your company data from your Office servers to SharePoint. As mentioned earlier, we would guide you through this process to ensure the data is migrated from your server and it's structured correctly, and most importantly, it is secure. When you move data to the cloud, security is paramount. By upgrading to Microsoft 365 Business Premium, you can benefit from having almost all of the add-on features included in a single package, along with all the additional enterprise-grade security that this plan offers you. So this then raises the question, do you still need a physical server in your office? So whether you've got business applications running on your server or not, we can discuss all the options with you to decide whether it's a good fit for your business. Even if you're just using Microsoft 365 for email, there are many options that are open to you to use in the future. And we know each business's requirements will be different. So we are more than happy to speak with you to discuss which features you feel would benefit your company. So that brings us to the end of this webinar. So Ash, do we have any final questions?
We do, Wayne. Thank you very much. And just touching on that point you've just made, Jeremy asked, is it possible to move away from a server to the cloud? For example, we run Sage 50 Cloud. Is it possible to install on SharePoint? So it's not possible to install that on SharePoint, but you do have a few options, as Wayne mentioned. We had a webinar last week with a bit more information on this. And you've really got three options with those sort of line of business applications. And that's either seek a web-based alternative that you can access in a web browser. I know Zero is very good for accounts. You can host that on a virtual server in the cloud, but that's not always cost effective. Or you can keep your server for those line of business apps and still take advantage of all the things that we've talked about today, and maybe look at moving those away in future. So I hope that helps with that one, Jeremy. Jonathan asked, how long will it take to move all my data to Microsoft 365? And that's a really tricky one to answer because it really depends on your business and how much data you have, and then how it's all structured. As Wayne mentioned earlier, it's really about getting that process right. So we normally go through a review process of sort of what data you have and how it's structured, and make sure it's ready to move and fit into that new structure, and make sure we get the permissions right. And it's also important not to rush and make sure that your users are comfortable with the new ways of sharing and accessing that data too. So that really depends on your business and data. I think that's all we have, Wayne.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for the questions you've submitted during this webinar. So before we leave you, if you haven't seen already, there is a help section, a help center section on our website at www.impactcomputing.co.uk, and in that section you'll find guides on using many of the features that I've mentioned with Microsoft 365. And I'd also encourage you to take a look at our YouTube channel for additional training videos which you can make available to your users. And as is always the case, our support team are on hand to answer any training or technical questions you may have with any of the elements in Microsoft 365 or your systems in general. So we hope you found this webinar useful, and we'd really love to continue the conversation with you. There are so many benefits for your business that we can talk to you about, so we'd love you to get in touch. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.